Hello and welcome to the dungeon. I'm your host Rob. In today's video we're going to be doing a overview of the Artificer. I'm not going to be going into the specific subclasses, I'll leave those for future videos, but today I just kind of wanted to give some broad strokes of the class in general. And it's one that I wanted to cover earlier, but one of the players in my current campaign is playing an Artificer. So I decided to kind of hold off a while, let him play the class, see how it was actually, playing at the table rather than just me theory crafting the videos. If possible, I like to go by actual played experience, So, but now the party's like at mid-level, and he actually switched subclasses at one point, so I actually got to see two subclasses in action. I just want to give my thoughts on it, and I think that it's pretty good. It also seems like it's a lot of fun. I like the idea that you can kind of think of custom effects for your spells or how they're created with mundane items or technical items or whatever, right? As opposed to just casting spells with, bat guano or whatever else, right? So I think it's kind of neat. At first, I had a hard time, just me personally, kind of conceptualizing why I wanted to even have artificers in my world. I thought it worked really well in Eberron because it was specific to that setting. But they have a nice little section actually here at the beginning talking about the class, and they do give some examples of other game worlds as well, right? So they talk about the world of Kryn. You had the gnomes that were always making crazy inventions, right? They talk about in Greyhawk the adventure Expedition to the Bare Peaks, that for anybody who's ever run it, spoiler if you haven't, for a 35-ish year old adventure, but whatever. That Barrier Peaks actually have a spaceship from an alien planet crashed in there, and it's full of laser guns and laser cannons and all sorts of power armor and crazy things like that, and a bunch of weird plant people and a mind flayer. So anyways, I kind of liked the idea that yeah, you know what, maybe I could figure out ways to make this fit into my own campaign world. And sure enough, I did, and yeah, I think it's been pretty fun so far, just trying to figure out how how the player's firebolt was going to work. Maybe it's a repulsor ray, Iron Man style or whatever else, right? And I think that that's kind of neat. It kind of gives some opportunities for some good role play as well as some kind of customization in a certain degree, and I kind of like that. I also think the class in general has a pretty good range of abilities, in the sense that you have the ability to have a lot of items attuned to yourself, which is pretty nice. I like the fact that you can infuse items to, maybe the party needs more carrying capacity, so you make a bag of holding. Maybe somebody needs a magic weapon, like in our current campaign, the rogue didn't have a magic crossbow yet. So the artificer infused his crossbow and made it magical. At a different point, the paladin didn't have magic plate mail yet, so he infused her plate mail and made that magical. She has magic plate mail now, so she doesn't have to worry about it. But the point is that you can kind of fill in the gaps of what your party needs. And as you get to higher levels, you can make better and better items. You can eventually make things like belts of giant strength and stuff, which is just crazy to me. So the fact that you can do a bunch of that kind of stuff, to fill the different places where the party might be weak. You've got half spell casting still, which allows you to, cover a variety of roles. You've got some decent buff and debuff and support type spells, but even some offensive spells as well. And I think that it really is a class where you can kind of be whatever you wanted it to be, as long as you, pick a role and go with it, and you'll be pretty good at it. And I think it seems like it's probably a lot of fun in that regard. So anyways, enough preamble. Let's just go over in brief strokes here the main core abilities of the class. Like I said, we're not going to get into subclasses, but we'll cover the main core ones. And at level 1, you get spellcasting, which may not sound like a big deal, but all the other half casters get that at level 2. You actually get it at level 1, which I think is kind of interesting. Then at level 2, you're going to get the infuse item ability, where you can make mundane items with certain magical infusions, turning those objects into magical items. And, there's a big list of stuff that you can do with it, what kind of things you can do, what the rules are, etc., etc., etc. It would take forever to read them all, but like I said, you can infuse magical items like armor, weapons, bags of holding, things like that. Basically just whatever you want as long as it's of the appropriate like rarity for your level range. At level 3, you're going to get the Artificer Specialist, where you get to pick your subclass. You've got Alchemist, Armor, Artillerist, or Battlesmith. I don't know why 3 of the 4 start with A. Thanks, Wizards. That was great planning. And then, of course, you get subclass abilities at, levels 5, 9, and 15. Level 3, you're going to get Right Tool for the Job, which basically just lets you make artisan tools. But that can be important because, you use your tools a lot, so why not? Level 4, you're going to get your ability score increase of your feat, just like everybody else, essentially. Level 6, you're going to get Tool Expertise. So now if you have to make an ability check to use your proficiency with a tool, you have expertise instead of just proficiency. Obviously a lot better. So far, nothing super exciting, but that's about to change because at level 7, you get Flash of Genius. This ability is insane. The number of times it has saved party members in my current campaign is just ridiculous. Now, partly that's because all the party members suck. You heard me. They do. And so they've needed Flash of Genius a lot. But, it's a good thing they have it then. So when you or another you can see within 30 feet of you makes an ability check or a saving throw, you can use your reaction roll to add your intelligence modifier to the roll. You can use it a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, a minimum of once, and it recharges on a long rest. So basically, if somebody's within 30 feet of you or yourself fails an ability check or a saving throw, you can give them whatever your intelligence mod is, say +4, +5, whatever, to that roll. And it does use your reaction, so if your whole party gets straight with like a dragon breath, you're going to only be able to hit one person with it, since you only have one reaction. But either way, it's still pretty good. I mean, obviously you're going to use it on yourself. I mean, why wouldn't you? But the main thing is, you could do it on somebody else if you avoided the Dragon Breath weapon. Or maybe you use Absorb Elements, since that is on your spell list. Either way, pretty powerful ability. The campaign I'm running right now, we also have Paladin in the party. So between the Paladin's Aura of Protection and the Artificer's Flash of Genius, yeah, they haven't been failing a lot of saving throws. I was only joking when I said the party sucked, by the way. I was, it's because none of my players watch these videos anyways, except for maybe Brandon occasionally. Level 10, Magic Item Adept. So you have a profound understanding of how to make and use magic items. You can now tune up to 4 magic items at once. And if you craft an item with a rarity of common or uncommon, it takes you a quarter of the normal time and costs you half as much as the usual gold. Level 11, Spell Storing Item. This ability is also awesome. Oh, the level 10 ability is clearly awesome too. Anyways, whenever you finish a long rest, you can touch one simple or martial weapon or one item that you can use as a spellcasting focus, and you store a spell in it, choosing a first or second level spell from the Artificer spell list that requires one action to cast. You needn't have it prepared. When holding the object, a creature can take an action to produce the spell's effect from it using your spellcasting ability modifier. If the spell requires concentration, the creature must concentrate. The spell stays in the object until it's been used a number of times equal to twice your intelligence modifier, or until you use the feature again to store a spell in an object. So, just looking quickly at your spell list, there are a lot of great spells to choose from there. You've got things like, say, even from first level, Cure Wounds probably wouldn't be the one I'd go with, but you could. It's not a bad spell. Fairy Fire, though, not bad. You've got things like, second level, you've got Blur. You've got Alter Self. You've got Enhance Ability, Enlarge Reduce, Heat Metal, Invisibility. Levitate might be a good one. Now, so many just, like Spider Climb, not bad. Web, really good. And the thing is, it's not just a one-time use. Like if you have, let's say 18 intelligence by now, I mean, you could have 20 probably, but let's say you have 18. That means you're going to be able to use that 8 times before you have to use this ability again to like restore the magic item. That is insanely good. And you can give it to somebody else who might not normally even have spell casting or might not have those spells available, give a fighter something that allows them to cast Blur. Like, good luck hitting him in full plate mail and a shield, perhaps, So I think that the fact, once again, this goes into this idea that, okay, if somebody in the party's lacking in some way, you're the guy who can fill that niche and make him perform his role even better. So at level 14, Magic Item Savant. You can now tune up to 5 magic items at once, and you ignore all class, race, spell, and level requirements on attuning or using a magic item. Now, the Artificer in my current campaign has been loving this ability because he keeps trying to convince the casters that he should be able to roll against them and take like things like Staff of the Magi or Robes of the Archmagi, and that he should be able to roll against the Paladin for that Holy Avenger that she doesn't actually have because we haven't gotten one yet, but we might. But personally, I just think that's hilarious. I mean, it is kind of a douchey move, obviously. Like, oh, we got a Holy Avenger, that's going to help the Paladin. And the Artificer's like, or could it help me? I can use that too now. And, that's just pretty hilarious. But in a more realistic sense, since hopefully your Artificer isn't a douche, just the fact that, like, what if you get a Holy Avenger and nobody in your party can use it, Like, by the time you're a high enough level, you probably don't really think selling is the great move. But the Artificer could use it. Or we could use the Robe of the Archmagi. Or we could use the Staff of the Magi. Or the, Axe of the Dwarven Lords. Or whatever item he needs to use, he could use. And I think that is just insanely good. And then combined with the fact that you can already use 5 magical items that require attunement at this point, and eventually 6, like, that would be a lot of fun to play. Just a character who's just decked out in like a ton of magic items, and you're like the Mandarin from Iron Man, you just got all your magic rings, all doing all crazy magical effects. And personally, I think that'd be pretty awesome. Level 18, you can now attune up to 6 items at once. And at level 20, Soul of Artifice, you gain a +1 bonus to all saving throws per magic item you are currently attuned to. Pretty good. It's no aura protection because it's only you. It doesn't affect anybody else around you, but still pretty good. You also have second ability. If you're reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you can use your reaction to end one of your Artificer infusions, causing you to drop to 1 hit point instead of 0. Not great, I wouldn't say, but also not bad. Could save you from going down in a fight. That could be a big deal. And if you have a bunch of infusions by this point, what do you care, right? It's only one of them. But, as I always say, though, Half-Orcs got that ability at level 1 for free, so, when you put it that way, it's not quite so good. Although you could do this multiple times, the Half-Orc can only do it once, I guess there is that. But mostly, +1 to all your saving throws per item you're attuned to is pretty wicked. So anyways, that's all the abilities. And I just kind of wanted to give my brief overview here, hopefully brief anyway, which is that I think the class is pretty strong overall. The ability to be a half spellcaster combined with, the ability to create magical items that you might want to use so many magical items that you might find or even create yourself. The fact that you can, customize and tailor abilities or items and equipment to your party. So, fighter wants a belt of giant strength. Okay, that's fine. Make you belt of giant strength, whatever you need, you can basically do it. And I think that, given enough downtime at least, and gold. But, I think that's pretty cool though, honestly. And I think it would be a fun character to play. And, speaking of Iron Man, I think that an armorer who just walks around in plate mail and fires all your spells or, repulsor rays or missiles that launch from your arm essentially or whatever, I think that'd be pretty fun, It'd definitely be kind of hilarious, to be honest. So I think there's a lot of potential there from both the fun aspect and the roleplay aspect, and I think that they're pretty effective overall, and I think it's a solid class. So I will be making some multi-class videos in the future. I don't know if it's going to be next week or when I'll start doing those, but I wanted to kind of give an overview of the class before I started doing multi-class videos with it, but I figured that I might as well at least, get it started. Anyways, so We will also have future videos where we cover all of the 4 different subclasses that are currently available. But like I said, I don't want to like burn myself out on Artificer and do like 10 weeks of Artificer. It's bad enough that I did up the cleric spells forever in a day. But, you know, keep things light, keep it fun, keep it moving, you know. But I do think that's a pretty solid class. So anyways, that's everything I have. I'm starting to ramble already. So feel free to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, all that kind of stuff. And most importantly, leave me your comments in the comment section. I would love to hear about artificers that you might have in your own games, or ideas you might have had for them, or just like cool ideas of like, when I use this spell, I have to like do this effect, or I have a bunch of like drones that do this, or I have, you know, my cure wounds is actually just like a syringe that I pump into somebody, or whatever. You know, whatever cool effect you might have thought of, I'd love to hear about that kind of stuff too. I think that's kind of part of the fun of this class. So anyways, that's everything. I'll see you next time. Bye.